everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sightless Voices, Unleashing Potential. I am your host, Jennifer Parrish, and today we have a really insightful episode for you. Our guest is Aamir Nagaria, and Aamir is a board member for the Lighthouse of Houston. We'll be discussing the challenges faced by blind and low vision individuals in the job market. We'll be sharing success stories of employment and entrepreneurship. We'll be exploring strategies for building a career and achieving financial independence. Before we get started today, we're going to describe our set for our blind and low vision viewers. We are sitting in blue chairs with wooden tables next to us, and we have a white brick background, blue lights, and a neon lighthouse sign. All right. So, Aamir, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, super cool. Not only am I a board member, but I was a consumer of the Lighthouse 40 years ago when I lost my vision. I grew up here at the Lighthouse, the consumer of the Lighthouse, so I can share stories of success, like you said, and stories of failure.
Yes, sir.
Like you didn't say.
We've all got them.
Yep.
We've all got them. Yeah,
Yep.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's, can you start by telling us a little bit about, tell us about yourself, about your career, and your role at the Lighthouse of Houston.
Sure. Yeah, so my name is Aamir Nagaria. I'm 45 years old. 44? 45. You kind of stopped losing count.
He's younger than me.
However, I lost most of my vision when I was 8 years old, mostly all of a sudden. I have Stargardts is my condition that I have. I remember the time of me noticing that I lost my vision. I was sitting around trying to read a WWF magazine when I was 8 years old. It was an article about Randy Macho Man Savage versus Randy the Dragon Steamboat, and I noticed I couldn't see it.
Wow.
So that's where the journey began. Saw every doctor in town, saw every doctor out of town, and came to the conclusion that no one really knows what happened. So grew up from the age of 8, visually impaired. Like you mentioned, went through the journey of high school, visually impaired, college, visually impaired, working, visually impaired. I lost more vision when I was probably 30-ish, 30 to 40. So at first I was a Zoom text user by most part. Then I slowly, gradually became more of a JAWS user. I'm now serving my second stint on the board. So that's exciting to really help out and help the organization, help out people like you all, right? And anything I can do to help is great because the Lighthouse helped me. So for me, it's just about giving back because when I was young, people gave to me, whether it was the Lighthouse or organizations like the Lighthouse, and the least I could do is repay the favor.
Absolutely. And that seems like a common thread too. A lot of people, the guests that we're getting, and they say it's so wonderful to be able to give back to an organization that helped them. My better half actually is also just incidentally a Stargardts sufferer.
Oh, nice.
So yes, I'm very, 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 very familiar with the condition. And he has, gone from Zoom text and mouse clicking and all this good stuff to now using JAWS and the cane and the whole bit. And it seems like his progression was kind of the same as yours. So I'm intimately familiar with Stargardts. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Okay. So we're gonna kind of start by talking about challenges, faced by blind or low vision individuals in the job market. So let's talk about, misconceptions and biases by employers, and just kind of generally what that's about, because there's a lot of them.
Yeah, it depends what I can say. So if
you can say whatever you want,
you guys can edit it. So misconceptions, there's a lot, right? Can we work? Can we do something? There's been many times in one major company here in town where my manager came to me and said it was a new job that I had. And my manager came to me and said, I don't know how to work with people like you. I was like, yeah.
Wow. That's bold.
I had other times where someone came to me and said, hey, there's other people in other groups that would like to take you on, but they're not sure how successful you will be with your vision. He's like, I'm being honest. Don't tell anybody. I'm being honest. So, we talk about D&I within organization, all these letters. At the end of the day, it's up to the individual to take his or her career over and drive it themselves, because unfortunately, the misconceptions are there, the biases are there, and they're very hard to go away.
Yep.
So it's up to the individual to overcome those and not expect to be given something.
Yeah. And also self-advocate.
Self-advocate.
Huge.
Yep.
Very, very big.
If you want something, you got to take it.
Go grab it.
Go grab it.
Exactly. Okay, so now let's kind of talk about job applications because I myself have been very fortunate. I've worked here at the Lighthouse for 24 years, and before that, I just kind of had some little customer service jobs, whatever. But accessible job applications, like that's kind of a big deal, you know?
Yeah, I've worked 8 jobs in 8 different companies in 20 years.
Oh wow!
The longest I've been at one was 7. Some by my own parts of leaving, some not by my own part.
Sure.
But I've been around and I've been through a lot of applications. Now, I will say the good news is nowadays they're a lot more accessible being online.
Yes.
Especially through LinkedIn, where a lot of people post jobs. A lot of the companies that have job boards use a solution called Workday, which is very accessible. Yeah, the applications are long, but they're a lot more accessible than they used to be. Now, that may not be true for all jobs,
Right.
but it is true for a lot of jobs, right?
Absolutely.
So it's really trying to use JAWS or the Zoom text or the accommodations you have to get through those applications. And if you can't, don't feel afraid to reach out for help to your parent, to your spouse, to your sibling, to your sister. I've been in that position where I'm trying to get through a certain work history portion of my profile on a job board, and I just can't because it's not accessible.
Right.
I gotta call a friend over. Hey, can you help me with this? Right? Can you click my mouse in the right position? Right? Can you make sure I'm hitting the right button? So things have come a long way. Things aren't perfect, but a lot better than what it used to be. And feel free to reach out for help from your support group to get through those applications.
Exactly. I mean, and it circles back to self-advocacy and willing to stand up for, ask for what you need.
Yep.
Because it's not going to come to you without you opening your mouth.
Yep.
You've got to be proactive. Okay, so now let's say we've got the job, right? So now we're in the workplace, and so not everybody is set up like the Lighthouse. The Lighthouse. Hey, you get a job here and you're visually impaired, you're set. They've got all the technology you want. But in the competitive, community, that's not necessarily the case. So let's talk about like the workplace, environment and technology dealing with that.
And so I'll take one step back because this is a common question that comes up. What do I do in the interview? How do I disclose? Do I disclose?
Yep.
And I think it's really every person's situation is very different.
Yep.
My situation is I don't walk in with a cane. I am a slow walker, so I don't bump into stuff, but I don't walk in with a cane. So sometimes it's not, if you look at me, you're not like, he's visually impaired. However, because I have no central vision, my eyes wander. I can't look straight at anybody.
Yep.
So for me, in my situation, I tell the interviewer, hey, I have no central vision, so my eyes will tend to wander. If I'm not looking at you, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm looking at you, I'm not paying attention. So for me, I add a little humor because then it's like, I hear a little, okay.
Yeah.
So for me, I use a little humor to get over the hump, and then it's free and clear. Now, again, everybody's different. Some people don't. Some people disclose in the beginning. They're a little more descriptive or not. I didn't go into how much I can see. I just said I have no central vision. In the interview, I don't say I'm a JAWS user, I'm this, I'm that. It's just, hey, I have no central vision.
Right.
Now, once they give me the job and I show up with my blind old self, then it's too late.
Then it's on.
Right?
Exactly.
Then it's like, hey, I need this, I need that. Well, the good news is I can bring my own stuff, right?
Yes, exactly.
Before, Zoom Techs had their own CDs, so I bring my own CDs into a work environment, plug and play, I'm gone.
Yep.
Now the companies will buy you JAWS, they'll buy you Zoom Techs,
right?
They'll get you a CCTV, but the day I show up, I'll tell my boss, hey, remember I told you I had a little central vision issue? Well, it's a little more than that.
Right, exactly.
But hey, don't worry. I need JAWS, I need a CCTV, I need ABC, and I'm good to go. Trust me, you won't know the difference, right? Again, so I'm adding a little humor in there.
Yeah.
Here's what I need. You won't be bothered. You won't know the difference between me and the next person, but I need these few things. hey, just point me in the right direction. I will talk to HR and continue, right? So I take that off the plate of my boss.
Yeah.
Because my boss is like, now I got to deal with HR for this guy. I'll say, no.
I'll do it.
I'll deal with HR. Just tell me who to talk to. I'll tell them the applications. I'll tell them what I need. You don't have to worry about it. Just point me in the right direction. So again, like you said, it's that being willing and able to self-advocate. And for me, I add in a little humor with it and then drive with HR on the tools that I need.
Yeah, exactly. Humor is so huge. Since I've been a kid, man, I'm just like, if you make everybody laugh, they're gonna chill out.
Yep.
They're just gonna chill out, and it's smooth sailing for the most part. Moving forward. All right, so let's talk about you and your, some of your personal achievements and just kind of highlight some of that for us.
Yeah, so we'll talk about some, because it is kind of career related. I'll talk about some of the things that I've done to get to where I am today. And again, I am today where I am because of the Lighthouse. My official title is Director of Commercial Applications, which is basically Director of IT at an oil and gas company here out of Sugar Land. They're basically a refining company. I've been around. I've worked at ConocoPhillips. I've worked at Shell. I've worked at BP. I've worked at Accenture. I've been consulting. I was at Accenture before coming to CVR Energy, where I'm at now. So I've been around, but the keys to what really have made me successful, one, of course, is the Lighthouse. And the self-confidence I gained being a child as a consumer at the Lighthouse. It was the Texas Commission for the Blind was what it was once called.
Back in the day.
DARS, and now TWC.
Correct.
And there was a counselor there named Angela Price. And she was my counselor, and she was my strong advocate. Boy, if she wanted something for me, she would fight for it. And that's kind of where I think I learned a lot, just watching her and being on her caseload. So people like that have helped me tremendously. Now, outside of the organizations, the things that have helped me in my success, I would say is 4 things. One, if you're going to be successful in whatever career you choose, you have to be really, really good at it.
Yes.
Because as someone with a disability, you're being compared against people who don't have a disability. You can say, hey, it's not fair, but hey, it's a sighted world.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
So you have to be better than them.
Yes, you do.
And you have to continue to increase your knowledge in whatever you do. It never stops. In 20 years, I've never had to stop learning. What was great 20 years ago is not great anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, very true.
And me continuing to educate myself in my field is something that, unfortunately, I cannot stop doing.
Right. Yeah, you can't get complacent with continuous education.
Because if I do, then the sighted person is all of a sudden better than me.
And it happens quickly.
And it happens very quickly.
Exactly.
So one, continuing to educate yourself you have to be the best at whatever you do, whether it's customer service, whether it's accounting, whether it's IT, whether you're a pharmacist or a masseuse. You have to be the best at that.
Exactly. I concur.
Cool. Okay. Number 2, it's customer service. And I mean that in whatever role you're in, you have a set of customers. If you're in customer service, your customers, who's on the opposite side of that phone? If you're in IT, it's who's using your programs. If you're in accounting, it's who's reading your reports. The better you are at customer service and empathizing with your customer, understanding what they need and delivering what they need, the more people will like you and the service you provide. Right? You got to get people to say, hey, that person, Jennifer or Aamir, is amazing. Because people's view of you, unfortunately, does not only come from you, but by more often than not, comes from what other people say about you. Again, right or wrong, this is how bosses and managers and leaders have an impression of you. It's not by you, it's what other people say of you. When I get reviews at work, the first thing my boss does, or every of my boss has done, is ask my customers, hey, how's Aamir? How's Aamir? And so those customers have to be willing to say amazing things about you. So you got to be your customer service skill set, whether you're in the actual role of customer service or not, you are in the business of providing customers service.
Yep.
Whether it's IT, accounting, whatever.
Whatever. Yep.
So you got to be really good at it. So that was number 2. Number 1 was being really good at what you do. Number 2 was being the best at customer service. Number 3 is you have to elevate the people around you. These are your coworkers, these are your peers, these are the people under you, or even the people above you. Not necessarily your customers, but your peers. Again, your manager's view of you comes from what other people say about you. So if you're helping your peers, if you're spending time investing in their development as well as your development, they will say good things about you. You're only as good as your team is good. So you have to develop the people around you. I think a lot of people get focused on themselves, which is good. You should. A lot of your focus should be on yourself. But there's a percentage of your work and your hours where you need to spend developing people around you. You may not be a manager. You may have a coworker that needs some help. You tell your boss, hey, I'm going to spend some time with them. I'm going to get them caught up. I'm going to teach them these things that I know or these things that I've learned. I'll do some knowledge transition. I'll help my coworker get up to speed. I'll mentor my coworker. I'll coach my coworker. I'm not his manager, but you tell your boss that you're willing to get the team around you up to a higher level, which makes your boss's life easier, which then helps you get promoted and looked good upon. And the last is, volunteer for any opportunity you have that can improve your skill set at work. So growing up as a child, and I heard your podcast, Jennifer, at Chris Cole and working there. Unfortunately for me, I couldn't get a job at Walgreens or Walmart. I applied, shout out. You didn't hire me. Walgreens, Walmart, Target, etc. Now, it was like, well, do I put disabled or not on my, job application? There was all that kind of stuff 30 years ago. And, hey, do you want me working at the register, making your sandwich at some Subway?
Right.
Probably not. So what I realized was, okay, I'm not getting these typical high school jobs that everyone else, that my friends have had. What do I do? How do I put myself above, my peers who have jobs? So what I ended up doing was spending a lot of volunteer time and effort. So in high school and college, I joined an acting troupe called Dionysus Theater.
I've heard of this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Debbie Nowinski was the producer there. So I acted for her for 6 years. Okay, where does that help me? Well, public speaking, memorization, preparation, ad hoc. This, for example,
Absolutely.
being on this podcast,
Absolutely.
we didn't prep at all.
Nope.
Right?
Exactly.
So these skill sets from when I was 14 to 20, I'm still using today at work. I'm using today around work, but it was acting for 6 years, right? It was getting over the fear of public speaking. It was getting over the fear of not being prepared when I go into a meeting. Now I'm super prepared. My memorization is I have to memorize because I can't see a sheet of paper, right? When I go into a meeting, a lot of people will take notes. I don't take notes.
Yep, me
not
neither.
because I don't like to take notes. I can't see what I write. So,
Exactly.
people will go in with JAWS writers and, all these little small note takers. Okay, that's cool, but it's never worked for me.
Yeah.
So I go into a meeting and people ask me, you didn't bring a pen or a pad? Nah,
I'm good.
I'm good. But it was 6 years of acting and going through scripts and scripts and scripts of memorization and lines and what other people are going to say to get to that point.
That's awesome.
Another thing I did in college, because again, for me, I knew getting into these, non-college jobs were not a path for me because they just wouldn't hire me. For me, I knew that I had to get a degree. And if I can get a degree, there's a better chance I could get a job.
Yeah.
Now, when I was in college, I'm seeing my peers around me, super smart, super educated. Now they have college degrees, plus they have work experience. I don't have work experience. Yeah, I got some acting, which I used. So what I did in college was I joined all the college, they're not frats. They had business school. I was in the business school. I had an MIS degree.
Very
in
nice.
a bachelor's.
Congratulations.
Thanks. So there was a lot of school organizations that I joined. One was the MIS Honor Society. So I joined that.
Yeah.
And I was in that organization for 2 years, but I worked my way up to being the president of that organization, taking on a leadership role. Again, unpaid, volunteer, took a lot of my time, but it built my background that when I went to an interview at ConocoPhillips, I came in saying, hey, I'm the president of the MIS Honor Society at the University of Houston.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't have the 4 years working at Walgreens and 2 at Walmart, but I had to make my story. What did I do in that organization to become a president? What was my role as that president, right? How does all the acting help me in the job that I go to? So I had to develop the skills, the volunteer skills around me to help me in my career. So I know that was a long answer. That was kind of 4 areas that I worked in that I think people can work in to help themselves get to a point where they can have a better chance of getting a job and being really good at that job, right? It's one, being really good at what you do, being the best you can at providing customer service, helping your peers and coworkers around you, and taking on any volunteer activity you can to make yourself look better than anyone else when you go into a job interview and there's 30 or 50 or 100 people going for that same one job.
Yep. I love the last one because that's a great message to send to our younger sort of viewers and listeners, kind of what do I do instead of work at Walmart, work at McDonald's, do whatever, and I love that. I kind of wish I would have had this guidance when I was younger too, because it's like volunteer and get relevant skills.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that.
And again, a lot of it wasn't my idea. It was Texas Commission of the Blind going,
Sure.
Hey, we heard of this group called Dionysus. They want you to start tomorrow.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? So again, now that I'm older, I'm wiser, I can say, wow, that, I understood how that helps me when I was younger.
Right.
It was organizations like the Lighthouse and the organizations that advocate for people who are visually impaired, pushing their caseload and people they help into these organizations and getting those volunteer experiences and taking on leadership roles within those organizations.
Talk about some challenges in your career.
Man.
Challenges.
Challenges.
Go on and on.
Yeah, a lot.
Yes.
Again, it was kind of how we started this podcast.
Yeah.
People coming to me saying, I don't know how to work with people like you.
Yeah.
My response to her was, treat me like anyone else.
Yep.
Give me a shot.
Right.
So the first thing I always say is, give me a shot. Stand back, give me a shot. Now, when I say that, I'm super confident. When I'm in my job, starting out a new role, I'm not super confident. Inside, I'm nervous, I'm scared. Like, oh crap, how am I going to make this work?
Yeah.
One of the challenges I always have, whether it's a new job, whether it's a new project, it's being able to prove yourself initially. Once you get past the point of proving yourself, it's easier. To prove yourself at first is very hard. Again, I've been with 8 companies. When I was consulting, I had clients every 6 months. So in total, in 20 years, I've probably been in the door of 20 different companies.
Wow.
And every 6 months or 9 months, it's like, oh God, I got to prove myself again. Like, when does the cycle ever end?
Exactly. So
maybe
true.
I got lucky last time. Can I get lucky this time?
Yeah.
And every 6 to 9 months, it's a new manager coming to me going, can you do this?
Right.
Are you sure? And, as a super confident outside person, I'm like, yeah, of course. Inside, I'm shaking in my boots. So what do I do once my outside personality says everything will be fine? Internally, I'm working hard. I'm working late, and I'm working very hard to get myself accommodated to the job. I'm spending a lot of time at work. I may say I'm working 8 hours, but I'm working 12. I don't tell anybody I'm working the extra 4. I have to work the extra 4 for myself to get up to speed. I'm slower on JAWS. I'm slower on Zoom text. I'm slower with PowerPoints. So yeah, I got to work really, really hard to get caught up, to get myself into a position where I can perform. And it takes weekends and nights of me preparing myself, working a lot. Over the weekends, 10, 11, up till 12 at midnight, just being prepared for the next day.
So one last question, Aamir. So going back to when you were 8 years old and, you're scared and you're, reading this magazine and sort of discovering that you had some, vision loss going on, what would you tell him now?
Now I would say, don't let the fear overcome you or me. Don't let the fear overcome you and stop you from focusing on the now and what you need to do to be successful. At that time, the fear was heavy. The fear was immediate. And the strong fear and emotion of fear lasted a long time. To be fair and to be real, the fear still exists.
Sure.
But the fear is more controlled, and the fear drives me to focus on the now and what I need to be successful. So it's overcoming the fear and focusing on the now and the future and the skills you need to be successful. The reality is, hey, I'm blind. It's not going to change. Getting over that fact of knowing it's probably not going to change and figuring out what I need to do to cope and adapt in a sighted world is what I would tell that 8-year-old child now to focus on and not let the fear overcome and prohibit you from being successful in life.
Thank you, Aamir, for joining us today. Your contributions to the community and your dedication to people who are blind or low vision, it's truly inspiring, so we really appreciate you coming by.
It's just thanks for having me again.
Absolutely.
It's just, people who have given to us.
Yes.
And all we can do is just be grateful that we are where we are today, because there's a lot of people like us that have done well and need help, and all we can do is provide support to those who need help.
Very well said. To our listeners, we hope you found this episode both informative and motivating. And remember, you can find more episodes of Sightless Voices, Unleashing Potential on our website and wherever you get your podcasts. If you have any questions or topics that you'd like to cover, we would absolutely love to hear from you. So feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, guys, stay strong and keep unleashing your potential.